Tell us about this new book. The title is very interesting to me. From Mar-a-Lago to Mars, President Trump's Great American Comeback.
Yes, Jack. Look, this is a very special book. It is out today. Very excited about it. Look, I've written a lot of books, Jack, but this is the first book that is as much a self-help book as it is a political book. This is a book that takes all of the strategies and tactics that President Trump used in the last 4 years in order to not just survive, but thrive despite the unparalleled adversity that was thrown at him in order to be able to mount the most epic of comebacks. And I believe that there's a Donald Trump, Jack, in all of us. And I believe that positive thinking, resilience, determination, being laser focused, I think if we apply that to our lives, no matter what our goals are, whether they are running a family, raising children, growing a business, whatever it is, we can use the lessons from Donald Trump's comeback to apply it to our own lives to make ourselves great again.
Well, this is incredible. So what you've done is you've taken President Trump's comeback, is multiple comebacks now, by the way, but this one more shocking than any that's anyone has ever seen before. Returning to the presidency, winning one of the hardest, probably the hardest fought election in American history. I can't think of any other election where candidates faced the things that President Trump faced. I compared it to the 12 labors of Hercules. When he was going through this campaign, and that's truly what it was, up and to including taking his life in his own hands multiple times. But Nick, you mentioned Trump's focus, and this is something, by the way, that I think a lot of people miss, and it. I don't mean to say this and come across as sounding, like I have access or whatever, but when you spend time with President Trump one-on-one, as I know you have, and you mentioned Mar-a-Lago, you realize that when he talks to someone, he has this intense focus to him, and I know you know what I mean, where it's almost like he can drown out everything that's around you, and he just focuses on that one person, and then when he moves on, he moves on. And I've never really been able to see anyone do that before. Nick, explain to our listeners what Trump focus really is and how it's something you can only kind of see in person. It doesn't quite translate on television as well.
Absolutely, Jack. Look, President Trump does have a one-in-a-kind, extraordinary charisma. And that charisma does make you feel like he is talking to you and you only when he is in a room full of people. But he listens even better than he communicates. And I think that is the big thing that most of the mainstream media miss. President Trump is a tremendous listener. And that's why you're absolutely right. When you are in a one-on-one situation or context with the president is listening intently to everything that you say. You meet a lot of candidates, you meet a lot of elected officials. Jack, you meet presidents. And they're really kind of just looking at you, but they're looking through you. They're looking at the next person. Their eyes are kind of scanning the room. They're trying not to get caught while they do it, to see who else is in the room, how long is the line left, or whatever it happens to be. Donald Trump is not like that. And that same focus that he gives people that he is talking to, he gives to his goals, which is something that is just remarkable. I mean, you think about it, Jack. I've been with the president since day one, 16th of June, 2015, when he came down the escalator with Melania. And I was with him in early 2021 when all of the traitors and the cowards and the spineless people wanted to move away from him, abandoned him. I was with him in those dark days in early 2021 at Mar-a-Lago. We stayed in contact after he left the White House. And he knew then, Jack, he knew that for him to come back, which is what he wanted to do, he knew that they were going to do everything they possibly could to break him. He'd already had a taste of it, but he knew that particularly after January 6th and everything else, that they were going to make his life miserable, that they would try to bankrupt him, that they would try to do all kinds of things. And then let's think about it. He was censored, deplatformed. They tried to bankrupt him. They impeached him twice, arrested, sued, indicted. They've tried to kill him twice. That's twice, Jack, that we know of, right? God knows how many times we aren't aware of. So, and despite it all, none of it has ever remotely deterred his willingness to fight for the everyday, ordinary, regular American, Jack, that you and I also love and care about. And he has never compromised 1 inch. Think about how easy it would have been, or how expedient it would have been, better put. And to have that kind of principle, to have that kind of focus, to not be prepared to change for anyone, to be unapologetically you. If we can apply all of that in our lives, as I make the case in From Mar-A-Lago to Mars, then anything is possible.
Well, I think it is anything is possible. And so walk us through the title, From Mar-A-Lago to Mars. Is that an Elon Musk reference, or is it this idea that you should just think big and think beyond the normal limitations? You should actually dream big, and that's part of being an American.
Absolutely, yes. It's a little bit of everything. I was having a bit of fun with it because, yes, there is a reference to the maverick genius that we know as Elon Musk, who President Trump partnered up with in the first 100 days of his presidency to really make sure that we get rid of all the fat and excess in the government, the DOGE stuff that was so incredibly effective. But also, yes, look, I mean, for me, the ultimate manifest destiny would be the conquest of Mars for the United States of America. And it is also a reference to dreaming big, which, as you correctly point out, Jack, is the most American thing of all. And President Trump told us before clinching victory at a campaign rally to always dream big. And we've got to dream big when others try to demoralize us. We've got to speak up when those that hate our country want us to be silent. We've got to strengthen our will precisely at the moment that we feel we could lose it. Dreaming big is a big part of why America is the most unique and successful culture and society ever. In almost 5,000 years of recorded human history, we haven't seen a country like the United States of America. And American exceptionalism is because Americans dream big, starting with the founders, who had a dream to make a country like never before. Every single time any other country or society or government, Jack, has ever written a constitution, it's always laid out the powers of the government and the limits of the individual. But when the United States of America did it, it did exactly the opposite. It laid out the powers of the individual and the limits of the government. That's where American exceptionalism was born, and that's the best example of Americans dreaming big.
Well, and I think too, just President Trump as an example, and as a guy, and Nick, you've met my family, that with two young boys, and we think about all of the children who will be growing up in the Trump era and seeing a president like that, like one that we've never seen before, that only could have been in America, someone who's been a businessman, someone who's become a billionaire, been an entrepreneur, done so many things, faced so many tests, and then becomes this larger than life figure. The fact that he exists at all is proof that it can be done. And with the American system, when things are set right, it is actually possible. So no, you don't just have to go and have the 9-to-5 cubicle job, or go and work for, the gig economy. And look, if you want to, if the gig economy works for you, then fine. But you can aspire to something greater. You can aspire to something bigger. That's what it means to be an American. That meant what it used to mean to go west and seek your future and seek your fame and fortune and all of that dream, this idea of manifest destiny. It's all wrapped up in greatness. And President Trump, just through his life, is showing